Hello everyone, I'm just doing this video to help my clanmates and some people that like to play trials. I'm going to give a few tips that will help you out while you can watch some gameplay. Alright, now keep in mind, I am pretty much an average player. I would say maybe a 6 out of 10 on a good day. There's some days that I get 2 OKDs, 2 Unbrokens with 15 plus kills. 2 times where I get 0.3 KDs in PvP matches. So I figured, it'd be nice to hear some advice for trials coming from a guy that was an average player. I am successful in trials. I go with my team flawless about 3 times a week, so I hope you guys can take my advice. Now, a lot of this advice might have already been said in big streamers' videos, and I've taken their advice and have done very well with it, but I am going to show you that it actually works, so please listen. Alright, so my first tip to follow is to work on your teamwork. Make sure that you're constantly communicating with your team about enemies that are down, if you're downed and need to be revived, because this could be the difference between winning a round or losing a round. As you can see from certain clips, one of my buddies tends to get a pick a lot, and this is a good point to try pushing that body. Now, you have to be careful though, because some teams work better when they have just a pair and could really mess you up. So you have to make sure you know what you're doing in the approach. Speaking of approaches, this leads me into my next tip. The approach. Now, let's say you do get somebody downed on the other team. You want to somehow push that body or keep an eye on that body so nobody gets a res on them. But you have to be careful in the process, like I said before. There's a couple ways you could do this. For instance, especially using things like the last word or a shotgun, you can have one sniper on the team get the pick, have 2 people push in with their last words or shotguns. But just again, be careful, because those players in the other team, if they're good players, they might know that you're coming for the approach and kill one of you that are approaching. Also, the sniper that's hard scoping that body needs to make sure that nobody is flanking that person or hard scoping them from somewhere else. So it's always good to peek in and out of your scope, look at your radar, maybe switch positions a little bit, just to be careful. Since we're talking about radar, this leads me into my next tip, watching the radar. Now, this is very important when you play trials, and very important in helping you with your approaches. If you're not keeping an eye on your radar, especially in close quarters battles, it could be the difference between winning or losing the match. And also, if you see somebody on the radar, that doesn't necessarily mean to push them. Sometimes it actually means to back off and feel them out. Find a different position and see if they're still in that spot where you thought they were when you saw them on the radar before. So, radar is something you must keep an eye on in order to do well in a match. My next tip is about knowing the level. Now, you really want to know the level in order to be successful in a match. This doesn't always mean that you'll win the match, but in order to do well, you definitely want to know the level. Now, one thing that I do is I'll go in and I'll practice without any boons on, just to get a feel for the level. And normally at this point, you face people with lower KDs because it's the first match, and you get to practice, you'll get some kills, you'll get to know the map better, the vertical spaces, how to approach, how people might approach, and this will make a big difference on your run to the lighthouse. Once you feel comfortable enough in the level to start playing, you know your strategies, your counter strategies in case something doesn't work, this will lead into my next tip. Now, this tip is kind of strange, and some of you might call me a noob for using it, but I would have to say looking up Destiny Trials report, look up your other team, feel them out. Now, in some cases, this doesn't always work. We have prevailed against people with high elos and over 2 KDs before, and stomped on them, and then we've been stomped on by people that are under 1 KD, so it doesn't always work. But definitely knowing your team is something good before you get started in the match. Now keep in mind, let's say you do get a team with a high KD and high elo, don't let that stress you out. A majority of the people that I have faced that are high KD, high elo are morely passive aggressive. They're very good snipers, very good at hard scoping down areas. So make sure that you don't poke your head out in those areas where you know you can get sniped. You want to move around the level, use the verticality of the map to make sure that you're avoiding their scopes. Not to say it'll always be that way. I have faced teams that rush, they throw grenades, come in with last word shotguns, and just destroy us. And you'll get a lot of those too when you face high KD, high elo people, especially when you face people that are above like a 2.8 KD, you'll get that a lot. But again, stay humble. You might look up Destiny Trials report and get some team that has like a 0.4, 0.5, and like a 0.8 KD, and they might stomp on you. I remember one time I had a team, it was me, my buddy who was a 1.8, and then another buddy of mine who was a 2.1, and we were on Widow's Court, and the other team had significantly lower KDs than us, and they knew the places to hard scope, and they just kept picking us off. So it doesn't always work, but a majority of the time it'll help you know what you're up against.